Arbogast.
Here.
Garnis. Gisselbeck.
Here.
Heller.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Meisenheimer.
Here.
Solberg. Walder.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
And York. Thank you.
Agenda item number 1 is a motion to approve the minutes of the city council meeting held on September the 18th, 2006. Is there a motion? So moved by Alderman Giselbeck. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Johnson. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, then all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 2 is an application for a temporary from 5 p.m. to midnight on October the 28th of 2006, a retail on-sale wine license for the Northeastern Shrine Club at the County Fair Banquet Hall. Before we begin the public hearing, we'll begin with the public hearing, and I had asked that Stan, would you want to begin with that, please?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to assure the council that, as we've talked about in the past, the city council does have the authority to issue this license to this organization. There is statutory authority to do it. For whatever reason, my understanding is it's the first time it's happened in Watertown. It happens all across the state, and it's perfectly legal. And with that, I'll end my remarks.
Thank you, Stan. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak to that issue? If not, then we'll close the public hearing and go to council action. We have a motion then to approve the temporary application for the retail on-sale wine license. So moved by Alderman Solberg and seconded by Alderman Meisenheimer. Any further discussion? If not,
This is just wine, correct?
that is correct. It says retail on-sale wine license, so it's specifically for wine. Tracy?
That location is already licensed for a malt beverage.
Any other questions? If not, then all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 3 is the First Avenue North Extension Project Facilities Plan and SRF loan financing applications for storm and sanitary sewer improvements and non-point source funding for the Upper Big Sioux Watershed EPA 319 project. Herb?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. We're here tonight actually to accomplish a couple of actions that's required by the South Dakota Department of Environment and Natural Resources as part of the SRF application for this project. I want to make it clear, just so that we don't have to go through a second public hearing, that it is the city's intent to leverage the interest associated with this loan known as non-point source incentive rate funds to supplement the city's EPA 319 project north of Watertown, as the mayor indicated. The notice of this hearing was noticed in the Watertown Public Opinion on September 22nd, 2006, so that the city would comply with the state statutory requirements for going through the facilities plan process, which is a major portion of applying for an SRF loan. First action is to conduct the public hearing for the facilities plan and use of non-point source funding. Mayor, if you would you open the public hearing, please?
I'd like to open the public hearing then. Is there anyone here to speak to the issue? Herb?
Thank you, and I'll start. First, we'll discuss the project. That's the First Avenue project. I think most everybody in the on the council certainly is familiar with that. We've talked about it quite a bit over the last couple of years, but for the viewing public, the First Avenue North Extension project is a street project which extends from 19th Street East, just north of Highway 220, vicinity of the Casey's and the new Ace Hardware store, and we'll go east-southeast to 29th Street East and join up at Highway 212 at the light there, vicinity of the Walmart stores. The project's needed to and has been discussed for a long time. In fact, this was studied back in the mid-90s by HDR to identify a route to provide traffic relief to Highway 212, and as a secondary benefit, obviously, will certainly enhance economic development in the eastern end of Watertown. The storm and sanitary sewer projects, which we're actually talking about here tonight, are the required infrastructure to support the street drainage and also ensure the surrounding area as it develops not only has stormwater drainage, but also the necessary sanitary sewer to hook into, so we don't have issues that would hold up development later. The city contracted with Austin Engineering to review options for both the storm sewer and sanitary sewer in the immediate area of the proposed route for the First Avenue North extension. Several alternatives were considered. I don't see Ardell Austin in the. Oh, okay, there he is. I knew he was here. So I'll ask Ardell to come up and briefly walk us through the options that we've looked at, and we can discuss the associated cost. I think hopefully most of the council got the advance email that I sent on Friday that laid it out for you, so you had a chance to get a read ahead, but for the viewing public, it certainly be good to go through these various alternatives.
Good evening. As Herb said, I'm Ardell Austin with Austin Engineering. First of all, I want to thank you for allowing us to put together the plans for this project. It's a unique project. It's going to do a lot of good for Watertown, and we're really grateful to be a part of that. This evening, as part of the facility plan, we just want to walk you through, I believe you were emailed some general information and some cost estimates. We're going to kind of go over that. I've got just a few exhibits to kind of show the project and how it ties into Highway 212 and to 19th Street east there, and it shows Willow Creek coming down through the middle. The beginning of the project, of course, is over here. The Casey store is right here. This is 19th Street running north to south on the west side, and then the First Avenue North project comes in a southeasterly direction, crosses Willow Creek here. Then it heads pretty much straight east along the 16th line, and then there's a large turn to the south where it connects up at the intersection of 29th Street east and Highway 212, right near the Super Walmart entrance there. This first option here, it's entitled at the top of the sheet, Sanitary Sewer Option 1. The report that you were emailed, it actually references on the cost estimate option 1. So when you're looking at 1, it really means 2, because option 1 always on a facility plan, and I didn't think about this until later in the week after this is, option 1 is to do nothing, and that's just an automatic. So when you look at option 2 on this map, it's really referring to your number 1. The total cost for option 1, which is the sanitary sewer, to facilitate this project in the commercial areas immediately adjacent. It's a gravity line coming from, maybe just show you here, there's an existing sewer down here that we tie in the first leg of the sanitary sewer, just a very short distance here of gravity that will come back into an 18-inch trunk that was built here a couple years ago by the city. The balance of it from somewhere right in here will flow east and will come down underneath Willow Creek to a lift station just on the east side of Willow Creek and on the south side of First Avenue North, about where I have the crosshairs here currently. There'll be a lift station. Then everything from the south end here will drain north and west also to that lift station. And under this particular option, we would then pump that sewer back up in the same ditch in a separate force main all the way up to the top of the hill here, where it can gravity down to that 18-inch trunk line. That's the preferred alignment for the sanitary sewer. It is the least cost of the 3 options that we're looking at, and it is the one that we recommend as the engineering firm. Its cost is estimated for budget purposes $858,666.85, just in getting right down there to detail. Rounded off, it's about $859,000 roughly for that particular option. We did look at a couple other options as well. The second option that we looked at, which will be labeled number 3 up here, but number 2 on your worksheets, is a little bit different in that our original thought pattern, and I believe the city's as well, was to have the gravity sewer in the First Avenue corridor basically do the same thing that the second option had there. with one exception, and that was to, rather than pumping it west up the hill towards Casey's along the First Avenue alignment, we were going to take it straight south and come under Highway 212. Primary reason being there was a large trunk sewer already in place years ago there, and the intent always was, you know, in the planning processes up until we were on board at least, that that's where this sewer would gravity to that, and that lift station would be remodeled and reconfigured so that that sewer could either be gravity fed into that or force mained into it. Well, this second option that we're looking at here was a force main from the lift station, and the lift station would have been, zoom back out. The lift station would have still been located right here, but if you look at this line coming down here along Willow Creek, it would have tied into a new manhole down here at Highway 212, and this is all private property across here, following this alignment that kind of perimeters Willow Creek, and then it comes down to, and I forget, is that 21st Street, Herb, there? Or 23rd? 23rd Street right here, an alignment that would continue straight north of 23rd Street, which is by the Tractor Supply, and the Ready Mix Company are down there, and those particular businesses. But that was the original thought that the sanitary sewer for this project would most likely go. It was hoped that that could be a gravity line, that all of this, the storm sewer could be gravitied in this particular fashion, but it gets really deep and very expensive and lots of water to deal with. And so our second option that we were considering, and being this one here, is to do a force main instead of the gravity main, because we don't have to deal with quite as much water. But the negative side of this is it's a little bit longer run for the force main, and it would require an additional $160,000 more or less to remodel that lift station on the south side of Highway 212. If we take the first option we discussed, we don't need to remodel that lift station for this project anyway. It may still require remodeling, but not for this project, and we can take it the other way, which is a much better proposal. The last option for the sanitary sewer, it's going to look a lot like the one that we just looked at there. I just show the force main leg there. That would have been gravity sewer with the fourth option, and that clearly is the most expensive one. Maybe to back up just for a second, the second option we looked at was $905,800 roughly, so there would have been an additional $48,000 to go from option 1 to option 2. But then you really need to add another $160,000 if you got to remodel that lift station. So option 1 is probably $200,000 or more less than the second option. Then this third option, which would be gravity into the lift station south of Highway 212, although that's the preferred option long term, it's really expensive, and most likely you couldn't substantiate spending that much money to eliminate that lift station. But if you were to go with this particular option here, option 4, the initial cost would be around $992,587, and then you still have that $160,000 to deal with for remodeling the lift station on the south side. So it really throws it out in left field as far as the most economic or best solution. The other difference that I'd like to compare between 3 and 4 versus the preferred option is one, of course, like we indicated, is a remodel of this lift station. The second is that we'd actually be pumping it twice. We'd pump it from Willow Creek and our bridge there at First Avenue North to the other lift station, and then it'd have to be pumped from that lift station up to the top of the hill by Menards. So you're really doubling up your utility costs and your maintenance and long-term use of your infrastructure as well. So again, looking at option 3 and 4 clearly points to the first one that we discussed with the single lift station. Pumping it in our First Avenue North right-of-way is the best option. One other consideration is the land. All of the land to do the force main to Highway 212 or the gravity sewer main is private property. So then you have to deal with landowners concerning that, and it's impact on their property, and if not, that easement would cost any money, and that's not quoted in our figures here either, but that could possibly be additional cost. So again, if we can keep everything pretty much in the right-of-way of First Avenue North, we eliminate that hassle, and we only have to pump the sewer once, and it's kind of a win-win. Less cost, less maintenance, less hassle with obtaining the rights to cross the property. And one last item too is that typically if we put a gravity sewer system in like that, the city of Watertown requires an all-weather road surface on top of that for maintenance purposes, and that would be even a greater expense too, which would add to this. So I think it's pretty clear, and I think staff concurs with our offices that the first option we looked at, option 2, with the gravity lines and the single lift station pumping west up into that 18-inch line is the preferred alternative. One other thing to consider, well, maybe I should answer any questions you have on this first before we go to the storm sewer. But that's a brief summary of the sanitary sewer, the design and parameters that went into it, and et cetera. So any questions on that?
I guess not, Ardell.
Okay, we'll
Thank
look
you.
briefly at the storm sewer here then. Okay, this is again the same alignment. You'll see multiple outfall lines here. There is only one option for the storm sewer, and that's get it to the river as quickly as you can, and there really isn't multiple ways of doing it. There's just one way really to do it. And on this end of the project, with Casey's being here and 19th Street here, our first several inlets here will tie into an existing storm sewer that the city installed, I think probably within the last 4 years, and that's a pretty easy connection to that. The second leg over here is I think there's 2, 4, 6, 8 or 9 inlets that tie into a new outfall line here. I believe that's a 42-inch reinforced concrete pipe that would extend to these detention ponds that were purchased a few years ago for the northeast watershed basin. There was a study done by a firm in Wisconsin, I believe, that encouraged the city to purchase this property from the Aljos, which they did. And these ponds are designed to provide stormwater detention and also help with water quality issues too. So outfalling a storm sewer line into there is a good deal. You already have detention there, and you already have ways and means of helping to purify that water. As you move closer to the bridge, there's just a small section of storm sewer here. I don't remember for sure, but 4 or 5 inlets that will outlet right near the bridge into Willow Creek. And as you cross to the other side, I think there's a single inlet here and just a short pipe out to a drainage area here that will eventually work its way back to Willow Creek. And then there's a fairly long leg of storm sewer right through here that has a separate outfall straight north for storm sewer. And last but not least, there's a small section of storm sewer here that'll actually outlet in the 212 highway ditch. And the cost estimate for that is $549,614 as far as a budget item for that. And I guess that's kind of a summary. I'd answer any questions that you might have.
Ardell, this is such a really, really big deal. I mean, this is going to be so important for how this development works out there, something we've waited for so long. I appreciate the amount of work that's gone into it. It would be nice if we had a crystal ball that we could see like 5 or 6 years down the road when we have a great big rain and how everything's going to work. And then we could say, now let's do this way. Of course we can't. So that's why we've got you as professionals, and appreciate the amount of time you've put into the design of this.
Well, thank you very much. One additional comment, you mentioned the stormwater runoff and stuff. We have kept the roadway out of the 100-year floodplain too, so we don't have to worry about that in the event we do get high water on Willow Creek. The entire roadway profile is above that and should work very well. Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ardell.
Back to me, Mayor. A couple other things I
Yes.
need to cover as part of the public hearing. The city proposes to borrow up to 1.6 million of clean water state revolving funds at 2.25% for 20 years. The proposed financing will not have an effect on user rates. That's stormwater user rates, as the city currently doesn't levy a stormwater user fee. The city does charge a sewer user fee, which was increased last year, so we see no need to further increase sewer fees at this point. The city intends to pay back the loan out of its general fund with sales tax revenues and out of the enterprise fund with sewer revenues. I might point out here, it's very likely that there will be two separate applications that actually goes to the State Board of Water and Natural Resources, and that one will be for the storm sewer, and then there'd be a separate application for the sanitary sewer, simply because it's coming out of two separate revenue streams that will be paying the funds back. Final comment I'd make there is the city does plan to or expect to recoup some of the incurred costs as future development occurs and goes on to the stormwater and sanitary sewer system. Talking about the non-point source funds generated by this loan, they'll be used to supplement the city's EPA 319 project north of town along a stretch of the Big Sioux River. And again, like we did before, areas to be funded will be nutrient management, filter strips, grass waterways, manure application management, shoreline and stream bank restoration. We anticipate approximately $140,000 will be available for non-point source funding use. That covers the items that I need to cover in my portion of the public hearing for the facilities plan. Ardell and I'd certainly be glad to answer any questions, and I'd turn it back to you, Mayor, in case anybody else has anything they want to add.
Thank you, Herb. Is there anyone else in the audience that'd like to speak to the issue? If not, then I will close the public hearing and go to council action. Herb, would you like to direct us on this one?
Yes, please. What I'd ask for is a motion from the council to adopt the facilities plan as presented to you.
Is there a motion to adopt the facility plan? Motion by Alderman Wilson, seconded by Alderwoman York. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Herb?
Second, at your desktops is a draft resolution, or resolution number 06-49. And I'd request a motion authorizing the mayor and finance officer to sign the resolution to authorize resolution 06-49 so the mayor can sign the SRF loan application. Simply going through the resolution, it states the city's applying to the DENR for up to $1.6 million at 2.25% for 20 years. It further states that the city intends to borrow up to $1.46 million to finance the First Avenue North Extension storm sewer and sanitary sewer projects, and to use the remaining funds as non-point source funds to supplement the city's EPA 319 program. The loan will be secured by sales tax and enterprise fund revenues, that the city is required to designating a certifying officer, and that the mayor is designated as that certifying officer for the purpose of signing the loan application and other documents pertaining to the loan.
Thank you, Herb. Is there a motion for the approval of resolution 6-49? Motion by Alderman Giselbeck. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderwoman Walder. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 4 is Dakota Commons 4th Edition, approval of the plat, resolution number 06-41. Sarah?
Yes, good evening. This property is owned by Dakota Commons LLC. The manager is John Mills, and Representative Jim Flippen is here tonight. It's 5.6 acres, and it's off of the existing Parkview Trail, and this property was annexed about a month ago. It lies east of 19th Street Northeast, across from Human Service Agency, and south of 3rd Avenue North. It's part of an overall PUD master plan for that area. The zoning was approved a couple weeks ago. PUD zoning, and this particular part of it is single-family residences. The Plan Commission recommended plat approval with 3 conditions. Those conditions were that an erosion and sediment control plan be approved by the city engineer, that an easement be provided on Lot 2 for utilities, and that a letter of assurance drafted by the staff be signed. And all three of those conditions have been met, and so I'm going to recommend that you approve the plat tonight. Before I do that, I'd just like to remind you of the discussion that we had recently about the drainage fee for land acquisition in the Willow Creek Basin. This is our first case of actually charging that fee, and the letter of assurance included language requiring the property owner to agree to pay their pro rata share. And they did sign that. They did agree to pay for it. And the way that the fee was determined was based on a weighted area. It's weighted based on a curve number, which has to do with land use. And we discussed that there were other ways of doing that, and just doing it straight acreage or doing it by a weighted curve number. And the staff was directed to go back and review the policy and make recommendations to the city council regarding how that fee will be calculated. But at this time, we did it the way it says right in our policy, which is it's a weighted area based on land use. And so they've agreed to do that. But Jim Flippen is here, and I'd just like to ask him if he has something to say to you about the calculation of that.
If you'd like to step up to the mic, Mr. Flippen, we'll listen to your comments.
Talk about a setup. My name is Jim Flippen, and I'm with Dakota Commons. You know, in my instance, when we went through this, we had the letter of assurance that we were going to sign, or they had asked us to sign, and it had the pro rata share. There was no figures associated with it, so we asked to wait a while until we got to figures. When we did get to figures based on the weighted example, you know, there's a lot that was done by a consulting firm. It was already done. It was set in stone, and you know, we would almost say that we think they weren't quite as conservative as they should be. And actually, for our purpose, we would much rather see it be on a per acre basis. Is that the right terminology? Because I mean, just about everybody understands what a acre is. Very few people understand what a curved number is. I mean, you have to be an engineer to understand that, and I'm not sure all of them do correctly. But if you would want our opinion, we would strongly suggest you go to the per acre thing, because on the comparison that they have, there's only a couple places in that whole drainage basin that there's much of a variation. But it's something everybody understands. You won't have people constantly contesting it.
Thank you.
Any questions of me? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flippen. Need a motion to approve the resolution 0641. So moved by Alderman Johnson. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Alderwoman York. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 5 is the Senex Horning Edition, approval of the plat, and that's resolution 0647. Sarah?
The plat of Senex Horning Edition is owned, it's 2 lots, and it's owned by Sioux Valley Co-op and Steve Horning. The 2 lots cover a total of about 1.75 acres. This is located north of 212 between the Senex gas station and the Runnings store, which was the old Walmart, and it's a narrow strip of land. This land was platted previously. The 2 lots exist. The only thing we're doing here is adjusting the angle of the lot line between the 2 lots so that it's a straight perpendicular line to the side lot lines. So there's no infrastructure required. Everything's in place. The access agreements are in place. Nothing needs to be built. There's no letter of assurance. This is an easy one. I recommend approval.
Thank you, Sarah. Is there a motion for the approval of 0647? So moved by Alderman Meisenheimer. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Alderwoman Arbogast. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Next, item number 6 is a declare an opposition to the proposed South Dakota Constitutional Amendment E. That's Resolution 0646. Tracy?
Thank you, Mayor. This resolution does come to the council with the recommendation for approval from the Finance Committee. This is part of the effort of the South Dakota Municipal League and some other organizations around the state, including the South Dakota Legislature, encouraging voters to reject this proposed amendment to the state constitution. And the resolution lays out many of the reasons why this is a very bad idea for the state of South Dakota, and a number of the negative impacts are mentioned in the resolution itself. I don't know if you would like to take the time to read through the resolution or not, Mayor. I will say that that the GovTV is also playing periodically a piece on the proposed or the impacts of the proposed Amendment E, or it's also referred to as the jail amendment, which I believe is Judicial Accountability Initiative Law, I believe is the makeup of that acronym. But if there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those. I know the Finance Committee did discuss this, and certainly those folks can chime in with their comments as well.
The biggest problem is that all of us will be held accountable, which we already are, but we'll be paying our own legal expenses. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's couched in the context of holding judges accountable, and on the surface, I don't think any of us can argue with that concept that judges ought to be accountable, just like any public officials are accountable, whether you're elected or appointed. But as in so many cases, the devil is in the details, and the details in this case broaden the term of a judge to anybody in a public capacity that's making really any kind of a decision at all, which would include city council members, county commissioners, school board members, planning commission members. Any of those folks under this proposed amendment would be subject to lawsuit for those decisions. Right or wrong, they would be required out of their own pocket to defend themselves. Public funds could not be used. It would set up, this amendment would set up a statewide grand jury system with a $2 million budget to basically search out these types of things and handle these complaints. And one of the fears is that a lot of the jailhouse lawyers that are wearing the orange jumpsuits around the state are going to start filing lawsuits. And it's not just that, but certainly in those cases, currently the city carries insurance for those things, and if the city is sued for a bad decision or a controversial decision by the planning board or by the city council or by a building official who would also very likely be termed a judge under this case, the city has insurance that will step in and defend those cases. Under this amendment, it would be up to the individual city council member or individual school board member or building official out of their own pocket to pay for their own defense. And it's not just criminals that are likely to take advantage of this. I think there are a lot of folks in this from the standpoint of maybe just a disgruntled developer that's not happy with the decision. You can use your own imagination, I think, to come up with any possibility. Somebody that doesn't get the building permit that they'd like, those types of things, I think all would open up individuals to have to defend themselves for their decisions that are made in their official capacities as public officials.
I think it'd be safe to say that government as we know it would come to a halt. Yeah, there would not be anybody willing to serve in a public role. And I think the other part that's misleading is that judges are accountable. I mean, there is a mechanism for review, and so this is an amendment brought by people outside of the state from California trying to overrun what we do in South Dakota, and we do quite well.
Just a comment. I think I read somewhere last week where there was a poll taken among somebody, some public, and it came out 50% for and 50% against this amendment. Now that tells me that most people don't understand this amendment at all, and if they would understand it any clear-thinking person, I'm sure, would vote against it. And it all comes down to educating the public, and I certainly hope that most of the public will educate themselves and come to the same conclusion that this is a ridiculous amendment.
Very serious consequences if it were to pass. If we could have a motion then for Resolution 0646, is there a motion, please? So moved by Alderman Giselbeck. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Alderwoman York. Any further discussion? If not, then all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And that is a motion to voice our opposition to the proposed constitutional amendment E. Moving on to item number 7 is consideration bids for street department equipment. Mike Rye.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. We're going to talk about a street sweeper bid here to start out with. I mailed bid specs to 4 broom suppliers. 2 broom suppliers bid on September 15th, taking equal and minor exceptions. To start out the bid, we were asking for a 10% bid bond, and Sanitation Products had a 5% versus the 10%. The other bidder had the right amount. In further investigating that, we found out that we were assured that the 10% bid bond was known by the bidder, it was ordered by the bidder, and paid for by the bidder. So that seems to be not a real problem with that. Is that okay, Tracy?
That, yeah, Mike has certainly described that accurately, and I just would add to that I have received written confirmation from the company that issued the bond, the insurance company, confirming that it was their mistake, their error in writing up the bond as a 5% bond versus a 10%. They did acknowledge that they received charged a premium for a 10% bond and was paid that premium, so they quickly corrected that, and they have since provided us with the 10% bond as we had requested it. So if the intention or the action by the council tonight is to award the bid to Sanitation Products, I would ask that motion include a waiver of the irregularity, I guess I would call it, in the process regarding the bid security.
Okay, then to continue on, they took the same exceptions and clarifications except for a number 4 item I had that was dual gutter broom controls on both sides of the machine versus one. Sanitation Products offered to put that right in their bid, put that on for $1,195, but you can't really do that when you're calling for it in a bid motion. It was in the spec. The bidder knew what we wanted, and he gave an add-on price and when he conceded the bid. He would add this on his own verbally, and I made a recommendation just to move it to the council meeting at the Public Works meeting for the low bid of Sanitation Products for $154,310. However, I'd like the council to think about whether we hold strictly to the bid and award to Northern Truck Equipment with a bid amount of $158 or $158,386, or accept the low bid of Sanitation Products for $154,310 with the certainty that they'll add this gutter broom on there to the broom tilt on the left side. Only because it's low bid, I recommended to the and that they would add on, but it's open for discussion. The recommendation would be to give the low price, saving $4,076 to Sanitation Products. But that's just my thought. The council has the right to stick firmly with the bid specs, and maybe Stanton can help us out there too if you have any big questions.
Mike, if I could, just for clarification, I thought I was following your presentation to the council. the low bidder Sanitation Products assured you like over the phone that they would
Right.
comply with the spec and
And they had their salesman stop by too. Wasn't the guy who bid on it. I did, he was gonna be here tonight and he isn't here tonight, so, I told him I would bring it to the council and, I just wanted to run that, past you. If you're gonna follow all the rules, then we should hold strictly to the Northern Truck Equipment bid.
since Tuesday with the Public Works Committee meeting last, did they provide you anything in writing that followed up the phone conversation that said we're gonna honor it for 154,000?
They really can't do that, or you're entering into agreement outside of the bid.
So the council tonight has no assurance that what you heard on the phone is necessarily what you're gonna
And
get
that's why I was
delivered.
thinking their representative would be here tonight, so.
So your recommendation is what then, Mike?
Well, if we're gonna hold strictly to the, bid documents, then we'd go with Northern Truck Equipment for the higher price of $158,386.
And that should be the recommendation.
Because they would be the lowest responsible bidder that met the specification.
Okay, is there a motion to that effect, please? Motion by Alderman Wilson, is there a second? Seconded by Alderwoman Walder. Any further discussion? If not, then all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried, and that will be Northern Truck
Equipment.
Equipment. The
for
successful.
$158,386.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Next is the motor grader.
Got a lot of stuff here in case we need it. We mailed bid specs and forms to 6 vendors. 4 motor grader suppliers bid on September 22nd, taking a variety of exceptions. We had a budgeted amount of $166,000, and the low bid, meaning bid specifications entirely, was from RDO Equipment for $166,928.80. Butler met specs. They produce a Caterpillar. JD Evans did not meet specs. RDO Equipment, the John Deere met specs, and Titan Machinery did not meet specs. Sheehan did not bid, nor did DMI.
So the recommendation is which one, Mike?
The one from RDO Equipment for $166,928.80.
Okay.
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Johnson. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Alderman Meisenheimer. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks a lot for your patience in that. Sometimes there's a lot of people that get involved in that.
That's okay. Item number 8, consider bids for construction of 11th Street East Storm Sewer Project. Dave.
We opened bids on last Friday, on the 11th Street East Storm Sewer Project. We had 7 bidders on the project, with the low bidder being Scott Olson Digging from Huron, South Dakota, for the bid amount of $695,847.50. This went before the Public Works Committee this past week, and the issue of past history on a project with the city was brought up, and the recommendation from the Public Works Committee was that this be carried forward to the council with no recommendation. I've since reviewed the files on that projects that Scott Olson Digging had completed, and there were several issues there where there were problems with the contractor on the project, and based upon those issues, it would be my recommendation that we award it to the second lowest bidder, that being AP and Son Construction Incorporated from Summit, South Dakota, for the bid amount of $713, or $713,086.64.
Thank you, Dave. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Heller. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Gizelbeck. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. Stanton, are we required by state law to take the lowest bid, or is this?
We're required to
regular?
accept the lowest responsible bidder meeting specifications. And in visiting with Mr. Peterson throughout the last couple of days, he has extensively reviewed the file and the history that the city went through with this contractor. And I think the city engineer stands before you tonight saying, based on his review and his own personal experience in dealing with the administration of the last project that Olson did here in Watertown, he's recommending to you folks that you declare the AP and Sons to be the lowest responsible bidder meeting specifications.
And that would mean an increase of how much, Dave? Was it 13,000 or
Approximately 18,000.
$18,000? Okay. There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Dave. Next, we'll move on to the approval of a contract with Water Park Construction for refinishing the 93 Lions Tail water slide for $15,500. Tracy?
Thank you. Roger Adams couldn't be here tonight, so he asked me to present this to you and ask for your approval. It does come with the Finance Committee recommendation for approval. This relates to the old Lion's Tail water slide that was dismantled and reassembled at the new aquatic center. It is 13 years old. It is in need of refinishing due to spider cracking, and the gel coat has become worn. The quote that Roger has for $15,500 from Water Park Construction comes with his recommendation for approval. He did receive one quote from another firm that was actually slightly lower. However, when he checked the references, they were not very favorable from the second firm. Water Park Construction will be in Aberdeen this month constructing a water slide there, and the funding for this will come from funds remaining from the Aquatic Center project. We initially started with a $290,000 approximately contingency, and have used slightly over $51,000 of that. So there's a substantial amount of money remaining in the budget on that project to accommodate this contract.
Okay, so could we have a motion then to approve the bid of, what was the name of the company again, Tracy?
Water Park Construction.
Water Park Construction.
And this,
Sure.
just incidentally, this, because of the price of this contract, it does not require sealed bid process, but Roger did go to the trouble of actually getting these quotes and going through a competitive process, albeit less formal.
Okay. Motion to approve the Water Park Construction bid for the water slide. So moved by Alderman Heller, seconded by Alderwoman Walder. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 10 is authorization to proceed with work to complete the 8th Street Northwest Storm Sewer Control Structure budgeted in 2007. Dave?
Good evening again. I believe this was budgeted in 2000 well, it says 2007 here, but I believe it was in 2008 that it was budgeted for. We recently received a call from the property owner who owns the mobile home court that this is in. This project is just on the west side of the Big Sioux River on 8th Street Northwest, and it's by the berm that you may be aware of that separates this street from the Big Sioux River. The property owner has a project that he is proposing to complete, putting piling, steel piling, sheet piling along the Big Sioux River. He's been working with the Upper Big Sioux as far as getting all of the permitting for doing this, and he has approval to do it and has the contractor to do it, and he's proposing to do it yet this fall. It'd be to our benefit to put this pipe in the control structure at this time, rather than having to dig through that berm and go through this steel piling in the future. And I visited with the contractor who is doing the work on the piling, and he's willing to work with us to try to get this work done. We had budgeted $16,000 in 2008 for the project, and I'm coming to you to ask for your approval to go ahead with this project at this time rather than waiting until after the other project is done.
Do you have a picture of that?
I can show you where it is located, yes.
Because in Public Works, that was really good. Really understood a lot better when we.
Here is, for reference, this is the county shop over here, and this is the mobile home court. The berm runs along the river right through this area. This is all as a concrete that was sprayed on or poured on the side of the berm, and the pipe that presently is there is a small diameter pipe. I believe it's like an 8-inch in a kind of a crude gate on it as far as allowing the water to go from our public street into the river. We're proposing a larger pipe, either a 15 or an 18-inch pipe, and a control structure similar to what we have used on the rest of the control structures we have in the city. Any other questions as far as the location?
We could turn the lights on, please. I'd like to ask for a motion to authorize to proceed with work to complete the 8th Street Northwest Storm Sewer Control
moved.
Project. Okay, motion by Alderman Giselbeck. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Heller. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 11, consider contract change orders, and Dave, you'll lead us through that.
Item A is change order number 1. It's a final change order with McLaughlin and Schultz for the 2006 street, alley, and parking lot improvement projects for a decrease of $964.33. This is for to reflect the quantities as actually constructed on the project, on the whole project.
So moved by Alderman Heller. Is there a second?
I'll second that one.
Woman York, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number B.
Item B is also change order number 1, final, for the contract for Hawkeye Enterprises for the North Park Sanitary Sewer Project. This one is for an increase of $1,225.70. This also reflects the as-built quantities for the project.
Thank you. Motion to approve the change order? So moved by Alderman Meisenheimer. Is there a second? I'll second that. Seconded by Alderwoman Arbogast. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. C, Dave.
Change order number 2 for the contract with AP and Sons Construction for the 2006 sanitary sewer replacement project for an increase of $6,152.85. This also reflects as constructed quantities. This isn't the final change order, but it is the final quantities on some of the schedules within the project.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Is there a motion to approve the contract change order number 2?
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Giselbeck. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Dave. Item number 12 is a motion to add A.J. Edwards and Sons to the list of authorized city depositories. Tracy?
Thank you. And this request does come with a recommendation from the Finance Committee for the council to approve it. That what this would do is add A.G. Edwards to the authorized list of city depositories. And each year the city council passes a motion authorizing me to deposit city funds in certain institutions. And this would add A.G. Edwards and Sons to the list of agencies or businesses that we go to when we want to place funds for investment purposes. They would be competing with our local banks and the South Dakota Public Funds Investment Trust for city investments.
Thank you, Tracy. Is there a motion to approve A.G. Edwards and Sons to the list?
Motion.
Motion by Alderman Wilson, seconded.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Alderwoman York. Any discussion?
I have a question
Yes.
for Tracy. We have adequate insurance and for any deposit that we would make?
They would be required to provide the same security that the banks provide, either through FDIC insurance or by pledging other securities that they own. So they're held to the same requirements under the law that any other depository would. Or they don't get the money. I mean, it's just as simple as that.
Any other questions for Tracy? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 13 is approval of a contract with Tyler Technologies to add document imaging module to the finance office accounting software package. And Tracy?
Thank you. This is a budgeted item in our finance department budget, and the total estimated cost is just under $13,000. That does include some hourly charges or estimated hourly charges, so that won't be exactly that amount. What this will do is integrate into our accounting software our ability to retain images of documents that are associated with things that are in the accounting system. For example, images of invoices that are associated with a payment to a vendor, or the image of a timesheet that's associated with an employee's payroll. So I think you kind of get the idea that we can store those documents electronically rather than hard copies in files and kept in archives in the dungeon of City Hall. It's kind of just the next step in the I think overall implementation of better technology in our finance department.
And this is imaging that works pretty much specifically with this accounting software, right?
Correct. I mean, there are a lot of off-the-shelf document imaging systems out there. Many of them much more expensive than this, in fact. But this is produced by the same company that we purchase our accounting system from, or accounting software, the same company that supports our accounting software. And so it integrates in very well and actually becomes part of our accounting system.
Thank you, Tracy. Is there a motion then for the approval of the contract with Tyler Technologies?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Alderwoman Arbogast, seconded by Alderwoman Walder. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 14, a motion to acknowledge the notice of raffle to be conducted by Lake Area Technical Institute Physical Therapy Therapist Assistant Students, and that's for the benefit of the Watertown Boys and Girls Club. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the raffle.
Motion by Alderwoman York, seconded by Alderman Solberg. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Before you move on.
Yes.
Just a question, we had a little discussion. Is it written in ordinance that we have to approve every one of these? Or is that just?
There is a state law that requires organizations that are going to hold a raffle or a lottery, they're called under state law, that they must provide notice to the city council. And in fact, you're not approving or authorizing the raffle, you're simply acknowledging that you've been notified. And so that's what the law requires. What it is, the idea, the concept is that it puts the public on notice that this is happening. If they object to it, then they can bring their concerns to the city council, and the city council can actually preempt that or stop it from happening. But in every case that I've been involved in since I've been here, it's simply acknowledging the notice that we've been put on notice that this raffle is going to be conducted. So you're not sanctioning it, you're not approving it or authorizing it, and that's not required under state law, but you are required to or acknowledge that you've been notified.
And that acknowledgement requires a motion and a second and a vote. Is that correct, Tracy? Very good, thank you. Any other questions before we move on?
Just one other comment, Mayor, while we've got the opportunity, while we're talking about raffles, just for the benefit of the public and for the council, the state law also requires that 30 days prior to an organization selling its first ticket, they're supposed to come before you and notify the community. So that is a requirement. It's mostly followed. In some cases it isn't, but for folks who are anticipating raffles in Watertown in the future, we like to have notice 30 days prior, and it is a requirement of state law.
Thank you, Stanton. Next one, motion to approve the bills and payroll and authorize payment. Is there a motion, please? So moved by Alderman Solberg. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderwoman Walder. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to the open, if you refer to your agenda that was handed out, we have a couple items on the open. First being the Police Department Highway Safety Grants. Chief Vitek?
Thank you, sir. We have a little short PowerPoint, I think. You'll recall that you folks approved 2 grants. One was the You Drink and Drive, You Lose program, and also the Stay Alive After 5. I just wanted to give you a brief overview of those 2 programs since they concluded this past Saturday. Essentially, that program ran from October the 1st, 2005 through September the 30th of this year, and we conducted 428.5 hours of DUI patrol. Essentially, that was Friday and Saturday nights for 4 hours at a time. We conducted 369 vehicle traffic stops during that time, and we produced, which produced 53 DUI arrests. If you do the math, you'll find that 1 out of 7 cars that we stopped during the program, the saturation patrol programs, essentially was a driver under the influence. That has gotten better because when we initiated the program, it was 1 out of every 6 drivers. We also, as part of that program, conducted several DUI checkpoints, which some of you folks came out one late night, early morning to watch that. We conducted 13 in all, which was approximately about 22 hours. They generally last a little over an hour each time we conduct one. During the course of those DUI checkpoints, we contacted 2,016 cars. As a result of that, we came across with 29 DUI arrests and 1 no tolerance DUI arrest. If you do the math, once again, 1 out of 69 vehicles that went through the checkpoints, now these were done in conjunction with the Highway Patrol and the Sheriff's Office, produced an intoxicated driver. The You Drink and You Drive, You Lose program in all took 83 intoxicated drivers off the roads in Watertown in 2005-2006. That's pretty significant in my book, but the next slide I think will very much surprise you, because if you look at the entire number of statistics for the Watertown Police Department between October 1st, 2005, September the 30th of 2006, our entire patrol division arrested 288 intoxicated drivers in Watertown between that time. The other program that we had that we just initiated this summer that was a lot shorter in duration was between the 21st of July 2006 through the 27th of September. That was 122.5 hours of traffic enforcement, predominantly focusing on those areas that we've identified based upon our traffic accidents and also speeding complaints. We've conducted 203 traffic stops during that time frame. The officers wrote 78 citations, 133 warnings, and once again, one of the things that we've always emphasized is that it's not our intent to punish anybody or to write citations, but to simply to get folks to slow things down. Of that, we had 184 speed violations and 29 miscellaneous violations. Other traffic stats that are consistent during the year, you might see that the officers of the Watertown Police Department issued 2,212 citations, 2,077 warnings to drivers in Watertown between the October 1st of 2005 and September the 30th of 2006. We took all of this, and because these grants are issued by the Office of Highway Safety, we're required to provide that office with monthly reports. You might recall one of our officers, Steve Rehorst, on a monthly basis calculates where we have all of our accidents, where we have our complaints, and we focus all of our attention there. We do believe that we've made a difference, and obviously, in my opinion, the Office of Highway Safety also thinks that we made a difference. And in fact, Scott McMahon, our captain with the Watertown Police Department, made application to renew those 2 grants in question. And so, as a result of that, we were notified just this past Thursday that the Office of Highway Safety has authorized renewal of those grants and is has awarded the police department $16,800 for overtime money for alcohol enforcement to continue that program. And also, they've awarded us $13,104 in overtime funds to continue with our Stay Alive After 5. And once again, this is a result of some renewal on Captain McMahon's part. In addition to that, we said, you know what, while the getting's good, we sure do need some more radar equipment too. So Scott put in there and asked for a 1 Pro laser radar. The state, of course, is picking up the tab of $1,154. We said we sure could use some more Genesis radars too. So they said, well, you know what, you guys are doing a heck of a job, so we're going to give you $3,462. We also said, well, you know, we got to keep that portable breath test equipment calibrated and make sure it's running right. And so they awarded us $564. Now the overtime money is just there. They say that we match that because we use our cars, we use our people. On the equipment, we do have it's an 80-20 match, and so it's going to cost the city $3,183. And in all, the Highway Safety has awarded the Watertown Police Department $35,000.84, and so I'm here before you tonight asking for permission to spend that money.
Is there a motion to allow Chief Vitek to spend the money? So moved by Alderman Solberg. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Meisenheimer. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Chief Vitek.
Thank you.
Next on the open is the letter of support for Evergreen International's project to rehabilitate the Plum Creek Apartments in Watertown. And to bring you up to date on that, the Evergreen International Incorporated, they have an application pending with the South Dakota Housing Development Authority. They're requesting funds to purchase and also to rehabilitate the 24 apartment units at Plum Creek. The apartment complex is located at 1600 First Avenue Northeast. The units are going to remain as far as the same in size, bedroom sizes, and they're going to have available the same type of housing assistance for eligible applicants as it presently does. The only difference in the apartments is that they're going to be rehabilitated, and there is absolutely no financial obligation or cost to the city. All we are doing is requesting your authorization to send a letter of support for this project to accompany their application before the South Dakota Housing Authority. So, may I have a motion to that effect, please? And this is recommended to do so by Linda Shriver. So moved by Alderwoman Walder. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Alderwoman York. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next, item number 3 on the open is the motion to acknowledge a notice of a raffles to be conducted by the Lake Area Tech Incorporated Student Chapter of the Association of General Contractors and Home Builders and by the Watertown Women's Bowling Association. So moved by Alderman Johnson. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Heller. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. They are recognized. Next, we go to old business on number A. Consideration of quotes received for the purchase of a fire department rescue truck body. Mike?
Good evening. As you guys will recall, I believe it was on August 7th, you gave us permission to call for bids for a rescue body for one of our trucks. At our bid opening on the 29th of August, we received no bids. So we went ahead and called for quotes as per state rules. We ended up with 3 quotes, one from B&G Welding right here in Watertown for $27,000, another one from Alumaline Incorporated, Cresco, Iowa for $31,224, and a third from Hyman Fire in Sioux Falls, South Dakota for $44,790. When we originally talked to the Finance Committee, we requested $32,000 for this project, and what we would like to do is accept B&G's quote, which would leave us a little bit of money left over to be able to purchase a generator so that we can run the power equipment that we need to run on this truck.
And their quote, one more time, Mike, was how much?
$27,000.
27,000?
Correct.
Is there a motion then to approve the bid of the,
Rescue, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Rescue body for a fire truck.
okay. Is there a motion to that effect, please?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Alderwoman Arbogast, seconded by Alderman Giselbeck. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to ordinance number 06-12, regulating the uses and activities with the Aquifer Protection Overlay District. I'd like a motion to take the ordinance from the table.
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Johnson. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Solberg. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passed to take it from the table. Next, we'll go to council action, and I'll have Herb, will you address that issue?
Just briefly, I'd look for a motion to approve or disapprove the ordinance, and then if there's questions, we can entertain those during discussion.
Is there a motion then to approve the ordinance? So moved by Alderman Heller, seconded by Alderman Johnson.
Sure.
Discussion. Herb.
Okay, you've had first and second reading, and in essence, let me just remind you some things that we talked about during first and second reading. That the language in the new ordinance is applicable when the land is in the city's plating jurisdiction and is being addressed and addresses lots of record and newly platted lots in the ag residential, the Lake Park, the commercial and industrial districts within Cottington County that come to the city for approval. And you only have a handful of those. I think we had one here either the last council meeting or the meeting before. The revised language states that for already platted lots of record and newly platted lots that for residential use that are over 35 acres, one septic tank will be allowed whether over the shallow aquifer or not, and will be treated as a permitted use. All other situations will be treated as a conditional use and will require a hearing with the Board of Adjustment. If over the shallow aquifer in the ag residential district and lots are between 5 and 35 acres, a septic tank and drain field or a sealed holding tank will be allowed. If less than only a sealed holding tank, or if less than 5 acres, only a sealed holding tank would be allowed. In the Lake Park district, a lot of record of greater than 2 acres can have a septic tank and drain field or sealed holding tank, and if less than 2 acres, a sealed holding tank would be the only thing that would be allowed. Commercial and industrial properties of greater than 10 acres will be allowed a septic tank and drain field or a sealed holding tank. That's again lots of record. Less than 10 acres would require a sealed holding tank, and in all cases, landowners will have to provide annual pumping records at the request of the county or the city. For newly platted properties in the ag residential district, this ordinance is intended to restrict the installation of septic tanks on developments of less than 35 acres. We've had this discussion quite a bit in the last couple months. The idea being to prevent small pockets of septic systems from continuing to occur. As we've stated again and again, our concern certainly is that at some point in time septics fail, and when that happens, then we have other problems. Anything less than 35 acres, including lots in the Lake Park District, would be required to install the sealed holding tank or hook to central sanitary sewer. Essentially, the same process would hold true for newly platted commercial and industrial properties. Greater than 10 acres would be allowed a sealed holding tank. Less than 10 acres would be required to hook to central sanitary sewer. Also written in the bowels of this ordinance, if an existing septic tank does fail, then the property owner would have to go to a sealed holding tank or else hook to a central sewer system. Finally, last couple of points. At the request of municipal utilities is a requirement for a conditional use hearing before the Board of Adjustment for gas stations or fuel handling facilities in the Aquifer Protection Zone for the area north of 6th Avenue North and west of the railroad property. And one final change that's come up, it's a clarification point actually since second reading, is on page 3, section 21.090402, or in your council packet, it's like 4 pages from the end, where we we discussed land application of manure or solid waste as a conditional use in Zone B. Staff recommends making the change in the wording from the word solid waste to municipal water and wastewater process byproducts, which would include municipal biosolids and lime sludge. In consulting with Mike Berger, he believes that the original intent of the previous ordinance was to include those kind of items. It's just the wording's wrong because under our DENR permit, the only place you can place solid waste is in a subtitle D landfill. So with that, again, this ordinance comes with recommendations from the Public Works Committee, Finance Committee, Municipal Utilities, and Watertown Plan Commission for approval, and I'd therefore ask you to favorably consider it and vote yes.
What about those amendments, Herb? Do they have to be added into that?
Yeah, in that motion, if you would include the recommended amendment that I proposed, I'll make sure it's in the final before it's published.
Well, what we have was a motion and a second for the original ordinance. We'll need to have a substitute motion with the amendments. Okay, seconded, or motion by Alderman Heller and seconded by Alderman Johnson for the ordinance with the amendments to it. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Herb. Next, is there, under C, under old business, is there any other old business to come before the council? If not, we'll move on to new business. Any new business to come before the council? I'd like to let everyone know I received notification from the EPA that the wastewater treatment plant did receive first place in the national competition. We'll be sending a letter out. You should be receiving it, so you get a copy of it. Quite an honor for Mike and the people out there. Wasn't, again, we keep referring to this many years ago, the problems we're having, and now we're winning first place in the national organization. So that's really great. Way to go, Mike. Any other new business? Okay, if not, we'll move on to liaison member reports. Are there any liaison member reports? Now we'll go to executive session in regards to pending litigation, and also there may not be, well, we have some pending litigation and we may be taking some action afterwards. Is that correct, Stanton? Okay, thank you. So I have a motion for executive session. So moved by Alderman Giselbeck, seconded by Alderwoman Arbogast. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? We're going to executive session. Thank you.